Hi, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Justin.
We're the creators and producers of Meekshi Cosmic Rays, a new series of sci-fi mini-movies made to inspire viewers about muography and its real-world applications, from underwater global positioning to large-scale imaging of volcanoes. Somehow, it seems fitting that we're presenting cutting-edge science with physical puppets and analog model miniature effects.
We're very excited to be collaborating with Professor Hiroyuki Tanaka, one of the leading minds in muography research. We love that we can channel his passion and our passion for this technology through Meekshi. And it couldn't be brought to life without a passionate team of talented artists.
Our puppet characters start out as simple sketches before being built out of foam and fur. Meekshi herself was rebuilt several times until we were happy with how she looked and moved.
When it came to costuming the puppets, here's how designer Grace Braniff began the process.
I looked at older movies because it's kind of inspired by 60s costume, and I patterned them on their uniquely shaped bodies.
Yep.
So that they fit them well.
What were some of the challenges involved in designing for puppets?
Well, I think their shoulders are really different than a human shoulder, kind of shoulderless or shoulder flimsy. It's so easy for them to look childlike, so you need to add details in that kind of make them seem more adult.
How did you make these shoes?
Yeah, these shoes were an adventure because I think one of the most important things about the shoes, actually both of their shoes that we discussed, is shoes that come factory made in this scale are meant for children.
Right.
And children's shoes are usually very rounded. And I took soles of other shoes. I removed them off of those shoes, and then I adjusted the toe shape and then reformatted them together.
But not every character has specially tailored clothes.
As a puppet, he's a little smaller than everybody, and so he's a little bit smaller for like regulation baby clothes, which is what we used.
What was your inspiration behind Gord's outfit?
Well, you know, he has a bit of a rough go in life, this guy, you know? So like, I wanted to get that, you know, he's very earnest. He always comes prepared to do his best, and so I put the little bow tie on him.
The world of Meekshi is full of gadgets and gizmos, including her handheld tractor wheel multi-tool designed by Justin and engineered and built by Andrew Freeberg.
I started with this picture, and it was pretty easy to interpret from here. When I first looked at it, it looked a little thin. So the first thing I thought of is if I'm going to fit any electronics in there, I'm going to have to thicken it up a little in the middle there. And from there, I started blocking out the model, just fleshing it out until we reached a point where it started to resemble something like the drawing. And then here's all the different component parts. I printed out multiple tools for different scenes. And you can see here there's some switches which do work. And this is the motor that was used. And then here's a cutaway. I believe this is very close to what the final prop ended up looking like. It sounds like a simple idea, but it's, as a good friend once told me, anyone could design something, but it's really hard to get a simple design.
And we try to keep our designs simple before dressing them up with details.
The world of Meekshi is packed with details, from the way puppet sets are painted to tiny pieces of set dressing. Here's our longtime collaborator, Jeff Mackey.
Yeah, so you cut away from the miniature shoot, and then you cut to Meekshi actually controlling it, and into the real life / puppet world.
And you built this entirely out of wood?
Yeah. One thing you guys taught me was how much weathering has to go into something to make it look real on camera, which I didn't know about, and that's putting a bunch of charcoal and smudging it so it kind of looks like it's been like blowing in the wind and weathered a bit. But without that, it kind of just looks like a red box, which some guy came by and he thought it was a doghouse, which would be an amazing doghouse.
It's just cool that because of this control panel here, Meekshi actually has things to interact with.
Oh yeah.
And when the puppet pulled the lever, like the lights would go on.
Yeah, and she has the controls.
Okay, so I just want to talk a bit about this box right here, Bridget's Brownies. So you did the artwork for this.
I did.
And I asked you to do this because Bridget was my aunt who passed away at the beginning of 2020, and we wanted to kind of honor her. She was a chocolate maker, and her name was Bridget Brownie, so we thought,
How could it be more perfect? I don't know how I thought of a llama.
That's
Made
great.
with love and care, Bridget's brownies are truly the best baked goods this side of Mabukiville. Don't believe us? Just try one.
Speaking of small details, a lot of Meekshi is brought to life with model miniatures, vehicles with working lights and suspension, and miniature sets that we can repurpose. The walls of Meekshi's underwater tunnel began their life as a broken bridge.
One of the challenges as well coming into this particular item was it not only has to aesthetically look like the item like a bridge, but it also needs to have practicality where we actually were gonna launch vehicles off. This was very important to see how jagged and
That it had cracked in
it
half.
had cracked. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love all the details you've put in here too, like this tiny little tool wall.
That was just a lot of fun to sort of really reinforce the sense of scale.
And you've added some moving parts as well, like this crank here. So as the roof is opening, what is this chain
This
that you used?
this is a piece of a kid's toy. But I did sit down and clip all of these bits together because it was an unfinished kit. There's one more thing I want to talk about specifically. These pieces are from a bridge girder kit, and part of the reason we use them in all sorts of things was because Justin was absolutely enamored with it. We had this game we would play where we would each, in the morning when we got in, we would make a bet on what time Justin would say bridge girder kit pieces by. And usually it was between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. And as the days went on and we played this game, we got more and more specific about the exact time of the morning we thought Justin would say the phrase bridge girder pieces. And it kept us, well, I won't say it kept us sane because none of us were sane, but it was a very
not
good
Justin.
source of entertainment.
I had no idea they were playing that game.
With all of our puppets, sets, and models ready, it's time to film Meekshi.
Everything was pretty practical that we did. We didn't use very many green screens. We used like amazing amounts of gels. Every scene, every action had a different camera movement. Every lights were moving all the time.
Puppets light differently. They don't have sort of like reflective skin, and it's like just a very different approach. Thinking about how they come alive and stand out was like the first sort of immediate hurdle.
And the world that they live in is more dynamic than our world would be. So when you light something with a subway, you can't just have a subway light. You have to have like 10 lights, and Astrid with one light moving as fast as she can to simulate the speed of the train.
We would whip it across set multiple times. It was a really great workout.
If you look at just the crew doing it, it looks like the most silly thing ever. But I would look at the footage on screen of what the camera was actually capturing, and it just really brought the magic of the show to me.
Well, miniatures are also a different story, and as hard, I guess, because you have to like shoot everything into a smaller scale.
We had a whole, essentially an infinity pool, like those fancy hotels.
We would keep it pretty low angle so that it would never go too high to reveal the edge.
Switching to Hydro Drive!
Once everything's filmed, we jump into editing, visual effects, color grading, and a key element that really brings the world to life, sound design.
We all talked previously just about what the world was going to look like, what it was going to sound like, the elements of the world, kind of a used universe. Even though things were technologically advanced in some of the shots, like lasers and things, the ways that they were created were rough, and you can almost imagine them being made with like gas powered. For a month before the project even started, I was already thinking about what that would kind of sound like, what would that look like, so my gears were turning well before I even saw the picture.
Oh, I love those sound effects.
I really enjoyed working on these costumes. I think if I could, I would take each character and make like an entire wardrobe, and then I just like sit in my room playing with the puppets.
It's not every day that you get to come to work and then just sit back and be like, you know what I did today? I made a really great hairpiece for a giraffe.
Were there any parts that kind of surprised you about like how easy they were?
How easy they were. No.
Once I get into this project, like I just go to another place and I'm like, oh, like it'd be cool if I had this and this, and then I think it was cool every day like come to you and Justin and be like, hey, I built the thing, but don't be mad. I did a couple modifications.
The whole crew has a passion for this, right? They're not here just for the show. They're here for like because they love what they do, and everyone puts their 100%, 110% in. And it's a small crew, and we all are sweating and tired at the end of the day, but it's all it's worth it.
I think the puppets add just an element of fun, and that just sort of carries through everything.